Now, to start off, I'd like to invite up onto stage Matt Gayleard. Matt is the Chief Commercial Officer from iVox out of the UK. He's going to talk about Beyond the Hype, AI in Real Estate. So, Matt, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. So my first slide is gone. There you go. I'm not Ryan Gallagher, for anybody who may have noticed that. I know he's a bit of a celebrity at this event, and he was supposed to be presenting, so apologies. Don't leave. Hopefully, I still have something interesting to say. Ryan had a family emergency and had to rush home on Monday, so he asked if I would step in, and I had 48 hours notice to do this presentation. So that was exciting, which was actually 24 hours because I was at a government NHS procurement conference yesterday, so I couldn't possibly think of two things at once. So I did that one, and on the way here, I worked on this one. So Ryan was very kind and sent me his slides. And it's very hard to present someone else's work, especially when they're an entrepreneur, engineer extraordinaire that everybody knows. So I couldn't possibly do that. So I've taken some of his content, and I'm going to share that. I think it was some really important things he wanted to share with you all. And then I'm going to share some of my observations that I've kind of found speaking to more than 100 customers and partners and people within the industry and many of the people in this room in the last 6 months. So why am I qualified to be up here and not be doing, not Ryan? So whilst I'm quite new to this particular space, and I've been at iVox for 6 months, I got more than 20 years in business communication technology. So I've worked at Microsoft, I've worked at Nokia, and I was also at Orange for quite a long time. And before here, I was in a cloud communications business for 7 years as CCO. So I know this space, and it's really exciting to be kind of working with iVox as we scale and do what we're now doing. So the title of this was Beyond the Hype. And I was reading some articles at the weekend, and several of them were saying the same thing. And I think if listening to the presentations this morning is anything to go by, it's actually underhyped. So I think, how AI is impacting and will impact and continue to impact what we do and how we do it is just going to continue. So these are Ryan's slides. So if Ryan was here, I'm not going to try and impersonate Ryan, it's far too tall. And here were some of the things that he would have liked to talk to you about. So from a market dynamics point of view, AI tools like Perplexity are kind of actually bypassing search. So in the last presentation, Dimitri mentioned this as well. So again, these are really important things that we all know are happening, that people are now using LLMs and search and ChatGPT as a search engine is in itself, and it's bypassing things, including the marketplaces themselves. AI is a fantastic tool that we can add to the back end of the products and services that we already have to optimize and make things more efficient. And from a front-end point of view, we know that it is completely changing the user experience. If Ryan was here, he would also be talking about scale and growth. And that we know that when ChatGPT launched in 22, it scaled to 1 million users in 5 days. It was the quickest and fastest of any new product development ever, and that hasn't slowed down in any way. And from a growth point of view, we're only going to see more and more and more of this. So what are the implications to marketplaces? And obviously, many of the people in the room, this is what you do. So again, yes, there is a risk. And again, we've heard from some of the presentations today. I've heard the word risk and threat sort of come up a few times. So I think that it's not new news. And also, as we move from, there is an opportunity, as we move from this sort of selling, move to selling services rather than just leads. And there's just this opportunity where we really need to think about leads to revenue rather than leads, and this is something that comes up a lot, and I'll talk about in the second half a bit more. So from an advantage point of view, we as iVox are positioned in a really interesting point. So we have more than 20 years of experience in doing what we've always done, which is the call tracking and supporting marketplaces and businesses in what they do with leads. But also what we're doing with our new AI technologies that sit on top and augment and help drive efficiency and efficacy is something that we're building on the foundations that we already have. I think something that's really interesting from our point of view is that's unusual for many people that do what we do. We are equally strong in both Europe and the US. We're a European business that's doing well in the US as opposed to a US business that's come here. And that has a lot of implications, which we'll talk about a bit more. And again, a lot of things that we're doing, we can learn and kind of transfer across both markets. And a lot of things that we also think we do is that because we are able to test and learn things in the US, and that market is more dynamic, things like some of the GDPR and security isn't as strict, we're able to try and test things and do things here. That also works the other way around. If you're an American business coming here, they don't always have the understanding of the compliance issues and risks that we have. So, just to make it a bit interesting, because you've all just been for a break, and you're all a bit tired, and I've got far too many slides. I'm going to ask a few silly questions, because I know the answer is going to have lots of hands up straight away. So, hands up if you've had a conversation about AI today. Not listened, but had. 2 people, only 2 people. Wow, I'm at the wrong conference. Okay, excellent. If you're excited about what it can do for your business. More people are excited, excellent. If you're uncertain. Wow, this is a room of really sure people. And if you see it as a threat. I know at least one person does because I heard it on the thing. And I saw the questions earlier, so excellent, thank you. When you're all at break, I put a Post-it under one of the chairs. And in a minute, I'm going to ask you to stand up and look. And you're going to be my assistant. I just lied. Just trying to make sure you're all awake. You all thought for a second, I know it's me. It's always me. But don't worry. I was lying. Okay, so having spoke to more than 100 business leaders in the last 6 months, completely spontaneously, 3 themes, 3 topics keep coming up over and over and over again. And I've heard many of them in the presentations this morning already. So again, I know this is true. So uncertainty. So specifically, what is it that people are uncertain about? What are they nervous about? And they'd like to kind of use this thing called AI to help improve their business. They're really worried about data. So again, we're working with partners. We get almost to the point of an implementation, and someone on the board, someone in the team, shareholder, someone in a business, suddenly gets very nervous about data and data privacy. And I'll jump to the third point, which is the EU AI Act, which is not easy to say. And that's something that we try to take care of for you. So again, we have a team that studies this and makes sure that everything we do is completely compliant at all times, so you don't have to worry about it. But it is really serious, and it is really, really important, and it should be something you should consider. But again, it is slowing down the adoption and the implementation of some of these new technologies. And there's another part, which again, I've even had a conversation today with someone where this came up, which is they're very worried about what the agencies, the people in branches, their staff, their customers, their clients are going to say and feel about having AI observing them, watching them, commenting, and optimizing with them. So again, I think that's something that we all know is a barrier. Interestingly, at this conference I was at yesterday, it's the NHS in the UK, and they are very worried about open models, which we don't use, by the way. And what's happening, don't quote me, I'm on stage being thing, was that they are having to look at how they can use ambient voice, which is a fancy way of saying a note taker, which I made a note of, this great marketing team. Ambient voice in doctor's appointments so they don't have to make notes. And the reason they're having to do that is because they're doing it anyway, without permission, using technology that they shouldn't be using. So again, if we don't implement the tools at a level that we know is not going to put our businesses at risk, the teams may do it anyway, and we are still exposed and we are still at risk because they're using it on our systems and they're doing things in ways that are absolutely not compliant and that we as the business owners will be held accountable to. So again, it's, whilst there is a nervousness from the teams, there is also a sort of demand that we need to meet and make sure that we're doing it in a compliant way. One of the other areas is that we know that people are using AI for all sorts of amazing things, including search. So again, if you go on Perplexity and you search a new house in Canterbury, in Kent, it's going to come up with 20 properties, and half of them will come from marketplaces, and the other half will come directly from the agents themselves and some other strange places. So again, we already know that people are doing this. Interestingly, I saw an article a couple of weeks ago about all of the strange and the kind of unexpected use cases of AI. So using it for to get divorced. Okay, that was an interesting one. A bit sad. Another one was a dungeon master for Dungeons and Dragons games. So I think that's my son and all his friends. So again, people are just finding more and more and more ways of using it. So again, I think it's really important that we consider how we use it and we follow the consumer and we do things in a way. Competitors, so one of the things that as a threat is other people, your competitors might be doing it faster. So it's not just, how is, an AI replacing search, which is going to impact your business model. Actually, your competitor may be using it in a way that is also going to give them some strategic advantage. And again, another threat is, whether it's AI or not, and one of the things that we're having conversations with a lot of people about is just the inefficiencies within their current systems. And I'll give you one example. So we deliver leads, phone calls that go through a marketplace. In the UK, as many as 40% of those calls don't get answered. In Europe, it can be as much as 60%. How hard do you work in marketing to create those leads? And again, this directly impacts your value that you then have to prove when they come and say, why are you so expensive? They're not good leads. Well, actually, they're great leads, but you didn't follow them up. We have a partner that we're working with, not in this sector, in the UK, who has 160,000 voicemails a month. You could fill Wembley Stadium twice of the calls that never got a call back. These were people that were looking to book a restaurant in the next 3 days, typically. They were never got a call back. So again, it's not about more leads, it's about making sure you make the most of every single one you get. Because what we do is it's such staggering volume, you make a few percentage points difference, it's a big difference. I'm having to prove your value. This is what I was just saying, which is, it's get every conversation we have with every one of our customers, they are having to prove more and more. It's becoming more important that they have attribution. They can prove what they've done for what they charge. And as I said, 40%, 60%, and inquiries are just getting lost. And these lost inquiries are lost revenue. So, the opportunity is to just take some practical steps. Just start somewhere. Find one of those key pain points that you're probably having. It's an easy thing, but it's happening in lots of places, like a voice message that doesn't get listened to. So some of the sort of takeaways, I'd like to give you something useful to think about, which is, think about your data. AI is amazing if you're going to use it to help augment and make your business more efficient. You really need to make sure that the data goes in is of the quality that it needs to be. You need to understand who owns that data because, again, there's one of the things that we often find, which is because we are passing a lead to another third party, it's who owns that data. And just make sure that there's ownership across all of these areas and that you make sure that you map out your governance gaps. These are things that will stop you moving forwards. Pick one use case. Just pick one thing. So we had a partner in North America who just wanted us to audit all of their calls. So we just took all of their voicemails and audited them to understand what was going on and some of the voice calls between staff and customers. And what they expected to happen and what was actually happening, the difference was staggering. So one example was that people were calling into a particular branch and they weren't getting called back because they were just too busy. There were 3 other branches in the same area. They could have just rerouted that call to those. So there are just so many examples where we are just leaking business around the edge because we're not processing the interest that's coming through. So pick one thing and pilot it. And these pilots, one of the things that we always recommend anyway is to implement a pilot, don't think of it as a trial. It's really about, this is a testing and learning phase. Let's put this thing in place. Let's run it. It will not be perfect. We will optimize it. We will refine it. And at the point that we're happy that this is going to have the impact that we need, and you can then also, within your own internal stakeholders, be able to give them a potential ROI calculation. When we did it in these locations for this amount of time, we could see how it scaled. ROI, how we can measure it, compliance we talked about. So the key thing is really, let's move from just selling leads and think about how we're selling outcomes. This is a key way of how we can help prove the value that we deliver. And a lot of that is how can we use these AI tools to then really help people understand the journey of these leads as they come through. So in summary, start small. Just pick one thing, pilot it. And this is something we've been doing for 20 years. We always recommend this kind of crawl, walk, run methodology. Start now. The time is gone already. So pick something, innovate. Your customers, your users, your competition is already doing it. And compliance. It's very important. Okay. Thank you very much.
Matt, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We've got a question here which I want to bring up. From your experience, what are the quickest wins when implementing AI in a property portal or in your business or in any of your customers' businesses?
Yeah, AI voicemail. So what happens is, as I said, as many as 40%, 60% of the leads that are coming in go to voicemail, and typically they go to voicemail heaven, and they're never seen again. So with an AI voicemail, what we're able to do is it's very simple. We take the call, we analyze it, we transcribe it, we summarize it, and we can either send that as an email, an SMS, we can inject it into the CRM, so that when the agents come in the morning, they can say that they had these inquiries. Another thing with that is branches close at a particular time, and they don't open at weekends. So you miss 100% of the calls that happen when you're not in the office. So again, that's something we think is one of the biggest and the lowest hanging fruit.
So you've got AI voicemail, which is really an analytics on it, and then clearly you guys then analyze those voicemails. You can get sentiment, people are being pissed off or whatever, right through to get back to me. And then you feed that into a CRM system, which could then feed into the daily workload of people.
And again, and if you're a marketplace, that lead can go in either direction. So we can take the summary of that. It can go back to the marketplace, or it can go to the branch, it can go to CRM, it can go as a text, whichever format they find is most useful.
What about the AI-driven receptionists, the people
AI concierge or whatever? Yeah. So again, another thing that we're doing, which is kind of similar workflow, is it could be that we're finding that we're not taking it away from the branches, the agents themselves. That what we're doing is it could be that out of hours, weekends, evenings, we can have an AI agent that is able to take the listing that you're particularly interested in, take your details, and have someone call them back. So again, it's a kind of more of an interactive way of what you might have done previously, and it's better than leaving a voicemail. So an AI agent will take the thing that you're interested in and pass it on to the right department.
Okay. And what about then the next level, which is you're actually talking to an AI bot?
Yeah.
Right? How does is that being implemented?
We're building it now.
Okay.
We're building it now, and the reason, so we basically have the capability, but each use case in each sector we're in, we need to build particular models for different use cases. So one of those, it could be that is at an agent level, and we're able to route them in the right direction. So what are they calling about? Is it leasing? Is it renting? Do they have a house to rent out? Do they want to buy or sell? So again, they can have more of a dynamic, natural conversation to then be pointed in the right direction and have an appointment booked and the right person call them back.
Okay. Fantastic. Thanks, Matt.
Great.
Excellent stuff. Thank you. I need this. Excellent.